All right, and welcome to another edition of Broadcast.GG Scrib Nights, but today we have a little bit of a different special thing for you. This is actually going to be a core Brawl matchup that we have between the Desperados and Straight Out of Compton. Glad you are here with us tonight. Joining me on the broadcast is going to be Panda. Panda, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic, Labasco. I'm looking forward to another innovation of these Scrib Nights, and it's a little bit of a different iteration, right?
Yes, a little bit different would be correct. As I said, Core Brawl is what this is called. It is a group of people. There's just a bunch of different teams that people can get together and start playing, and we're doing one of the games here. And this one, again, Desperados versus Straight Out of Compton. The rule set is actually pretty similar to Overwatch League. It's a 4-map set with specific maps. And they don't have skins enabled, and they don't have Brigitte enabled. So no Brigitte here for anyone to watch today. Brigitte.
We're probably going to be getting talked to amongst the Twitch chat all night, Labasco. But nevertheless, Straight Out of Scrub Cup might be out of Compton. We don't know. We have never really got the opportunity to interview these players individually. Hopefully in the near future we'll be able to. But to give you a little bit of a understanding of this team, Rocky, who is... I believe he's not actually a player, but he is the captain of this team. He's going to be leading the tried and true of this team that enjoys to play a death ball, Franz Jaeger. I mean, Franz does prefer to play Reinhardt. Not many of those players around Labasco and can go along well with Macintosh on the Roadhog. He's also got a couple good DPS, it seems, to back him up. I'm more interested to see if Savanti on the Mercy pick is going to want to swap off to a different hero, but if Chili ends up coming in here on the bench, we'll let you know if the substitution comes through. The home team of Desperados, though, I'm more or less interested in to see as they're getting a little cheeky in here with their icons. Yeah,
they're a team that likes to play classic dive as well is the one thing to pay attention to for them. They have a main Zen and Lucio player, Pray for GG's, who's also the team captain, is their Zenyatta. Kind of fits that he's in that role, too, that he's the captain, because Zenyatta is generally, too, your shot caller. So a pretty good person to have in that role. Galaxy is their Lucio. Wolfer is their Tracer player. Ultra, the Genji player. Garlic Bread is the Winston. And Pills is their Diva player. So that's the team. They're sitting at about 3450 for their SR here. And like I said, classic dive, what they like to do. They don't like Junkertown because, well, not many people honestly do, but they do like other payload maps. And they actually do like Blizzard World, which is actually one that shocks me as well. So it's going to be a kind of a good mix of different things that we're going to see here from both teams. So it should be pretty cool and pretty fun to see.
It should be pretty interesting with Desperados enjoying those hybrid map styles, especially Blizzard World. I've seen more or less you can play on the ground because there's so many different ways to get up on the high ground where Deathball is actually a little bit more prominent. Though Brigitte is not available, still can slambulance your way even on defense with a couple of good tanks and give yourself a really good footing on either of those escort maps. So Desperados might catch themselves off guard with Straight Out of Scrub Cup coming off of this deathball sequence. However, if it goes on the opposite foot, like on the first map being Nubani on the set map pool, a lot of high ground advantageous positioning is more than required, if you will, Vasco, because Desperados knows that preferring to dive meta, they can clear that high ground a lot faster than these slow, shieldy, slambulancy compositions.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good map pool that could benefit both, like you said, both teams in different spots. Our first map is Numbani, though, so that is one that you were saying dive can be really, really effective. Now, if you're a team that does kind of prefer Deathball, it seems like for Straight Out of Scrub Cup. I almost wanted to say Compton there because we were talking about it, but what is the most important factor for them? Because if they do try to do a Deathball comp, I mean, one, it's just hard as far as the defense goes, but they're going to be attacking first. What do we maybe expect from them?
They need to embrace their inner NWA and listen to some sick jams, really, because they need a good Lucio to go along with this. And as I was talking about this team, the away team, if you will, Straight Out of Scrub Cup, they have Marember on Lucio, the support flex role, if you will, but prefers to play Lucio. So the answer to clearing off the high grounds, you will lose a certain amount of time, but you can gain a certain amount of ult advantage from that slow-moving Deathball composition. You just need a Lucio to speed boost through these smaller choke point areas to more or less catch the team off guard. They're going to see you coming, but you really need to get in there and get in there quickly. Lucio is your enabler for that Deathball comp.
The one nice thing here about Nimbani is if you do use that Lucio, you can speed boost, onto the point very quickly and kind of force a team's hand. We'll see what they end up deciding to go here for straight out of Scrub Cup. They're going to be the team in red on your screen, and the team in blue to start off will be the Desperados. So we'll get to see Desperados on defense here first, and they are a team that likes to dive, and it looks like they're not even going to play around, and they're going to show us their hand right away. They're going to go with the Soldier Tracer as the DPS combo with the Winston and Diva, and then they are going to go Lucio Zen. So they're pretty set in their ways, and on this point, that's definitely in a comp that you kind of... It's a good comp to run on defense here.
Absolutely right by that. I mean, sometimes you will see one healer swap out for Ana because sitting on top of the high ground with a Soldier 76 is very easy to defend it because like we were mentioning earlier, Nimbani is very prevalent for high ground, and having Garlic Bread and Pills on Diva and Winston respectively, the two tanks that you'll see a lot more often than not, can get over there to protect the Ana, and that burst healing Labasco, I'm sure you know, is very, very good.
Yes, I'm a little surprised that they have the Lucio instead of the Ana, because that would be the one I think you would switch, right? If you were to switch one of those supports?
More than likely, yeah. You know, a lot of teams have been sticking tried and true. You know, you have your main Zenyatta player, and then your flex support role will be wrapping around these the Lucio, Moira, Ana, and Mercy to gain a little bit more footing for the counteracting compositions. But most teams, they do prefer dive. They'd rather have that Discord orb. So look for Frey for GG's to land those sick purple orb targets, and for Garlic Bread to follow up on them pretty quickly.
Well, I guess you could say it's a little bit of a hybrid coming out of straight out of Scrub Cup. They have the Orisa as the main tank. Flexible with the first kill here on to pray for GG. So the Zenyatta already out of the picture thanks to the Tracer here early on. We'll see if they push the advantage here because they have one support down. They're still staying behind the Orisa shield here early on. Diva now going in to deal some damage at least for the defensive side in Desperados, but Savanti able to get out of mech to Diva, and now the advantage heavily in favor of straight up Scrub Cup as they're now starting to stream on to the point. Galaxy, one of the only ones left along with Garlic Bread up top. Garlic Bread just kind of dealing the damage out, just sort of stalling as much as he can, but they're going to lose this fight.
Pills and Wolf are a little bit more... They wanted a little bit more out of that dive, but what they got met by was about 5 core members from Desperados just more or less catching them with their pants down, more or less. Or I'm sorry, straight out of Scrub Cup, as the Diva and Tracer dove on the inside of there. An advantageous tactical visor will get stuffed by Franz, who's having a really nice outing on this Orisa, not gaining any footing. That distraction that he played Labasco before they even gained any footing on the point opened up Flexible to go around the entirety of the point to catch Pray for GG's off guard. He didn't even see it coming. Pretty sure he got one clip. It was insane, methodical play from the Deathball composition coming out.
Again, the Ultra made the switch to Genji for a second there, but decides to go back to the Soldier, maybe to take advantage of the high ground position, and Garlic Bread gets Flexible. So Flexible getting caught out this time, Panda.
Yeah, absolutely right by that. Flexible probably looking for a mad flank. They were ready for it that time. Wolfer looking for a mad flank, looking for a pulse bomb, and got stuffed on that McCree. Nice flashbang from Fellow. Good stuff coming out as it's still a brawl over this payload is coming across this bus line area, but so long as the supercharger I was about to mention isn't in effect, it can give you a lot of good footing coming out here, but they're using ultimates left and right as if they're cooldowns themselves, Labasco.
Yes, and Pills uses the self-destruct to take out the bongos as well. Ultra does get a Helix rocket on to Fellow Hango to get the kill there. Flexible manages to get Galaxy, but it's probably too little too late. Being forced back is straight out of Scrub Cup, although Mac is able to get Garlic Bread. So you have a tank down that'll allow for Scrub Cup to push back onto the card and get this moving towards that first checkpoint.
Absolutely right by that. The Sora and Franz combination, Mercy and Orisa, both ultimates coming across at the same time. That's a lot of damage amplified and a healing that can come out on top of that. So damage and healing bouncing back and forth from the Mercy Valkyrie ultimate. Already at 40% to the next Valkyrie as well. And Flexible again going on the mad flank. He's been finding these time and time again on Pray for GG's. I believe they've only stuffed him once, but they need to keep the Zenyatta alive.
Only problem is now for them, Panda, they're down some ults. They only have a Deadeye left, and they do have a sound barrier that just came up as well. So they do have at least one defensive ult. Ultra has the Visor on the other side, along with the Mercy Valkyrie available for this defense here for Desperados as they jump onto the cart here. A couple more ultimates coming up for Scrub Cup. See when they decide to use them. Visor going to be the first one used and finds Sora here. Deadeye in response manages to take Ultra out, so nothing else out of the Visor. Wolfer, though, with a good pulse bomb here. Fairly even fight, but the defense starting to win out here a little bit. But as I say that, of course, the offense pushes the issue again. Now they're going to back out.
Sora just out of range of the sound barrier ultimate, did not catch it in time. Did not keep the Mercy alive, and once that main healer is down, no matter how many picks you get, especially where the payload is now, Labasco, it's hard to gain your footing back. As the attacker team, you have the longer walk, especially the defending team. They don't spawn too far from where the payload is. However, only backing up to the Zenyatta ultimate, Pills will be near another self-destruct, but it has to come down to stop this Bongo supercharger, and it comes down immediately.
Does come out here immediately, does the supercharger, see what they get out of it. Garlic Bread, though, gets it right away. Flexible able to take Galaxy out, though, with the Pulse Bomb in the meantime, but Garlic Bread still wreaking havoc with the Primal Rage. It's still forcing back the team of Scrub Cup. They're starting to move forward now, but there's a self-destruct in their face, and it catches two with it. Gets the Lucio and the Orisa, and then Ultra getting Fellow out of there as well. Pills dashing into Sora, and then another kill by Ultra on to the Orisa was Rez. So a very good team wipe there from Desperados as they finally sort of have stabilized here.
If stabilized, Franz will be swapping over to the Winston, so a full dive composition coming out from straight out of Scrub Cup. It's probably feeling a little bit difficult to get that OR-15 mech who turned into Orisa back onto that smaller area through that underpass onto the payload again. But Galaxy will have a Mercy Valkyrie for this defending team, and it comes down to the DPS again. Dragon Blade and Pulse Bomb up once again to push this attacking team back again. They have 2 minutes and 38 seconds left in the bank.
Not only that, Ultra using the Dragon Blade here gets the quick dash kill, and Savanti was one of his first targets, and that was the only one close for a defensive ult, and he continues to slice and dice through the team with the rest of his team cleaning up afterwards. So to your point there, Panda, they didn't have many ults left. They didn't have either of those defensive ults, and it hurt them in that last fight.
Hurt them in that last fight, but the one thing they did catch from out of nowhere, and speaking of out of nowhere, both divas in sequence killing each other, one of the more beautiful things you'll never see in Overwatch. Galaxy popped the Valkyrie ultimate, but then got killed off by Flexible immediately. So that's one ultimate that did get used, but had no value on the side of Desperados. They will have Transcendence once again, and they need to be able to stuff Flexible, who's going to be on the mad flank after the self-destruct comes through, unable to find anybody, but probably looking for a mad flank sometime soon, Labasco.
Did force the team towards them, which allows for Flexible to get Pray for GG's with the Pulse Bomb before he can get his ultimate up, so he's out of the picture here. So the offense looking good so far. After they deal with this Primal Raging Winston, they'll be able to push this cart around the point. One more attack here for the defense to try and stop.
And finally able to gain a few more meters coming out. Well, they're able to bait out the Transcendence. That's actually huge because Fellow, he has this Genji Blade. You can only imagine he's just waiting for it, dashing through, looking for the enemies. Here comes the unsheathing. This is looking good for the attacking team coming out straight out of Scrub Cup. Looking good here so far, Labasco.
Very good, as you said, Fellow getting that one kill with it, and the rest of his team following behind him. They should be able to take this next point here, no problem. Just have a Tracer to deal with on the card. Wolf of Warfare stalling really well, but finally taken out by Fellow Hours. They will now get their chance to push it there. They don't have a lot of time on the clock, Panda, but like you said, great use of ultimates there at the end, and I mean, triple kill there after the fact, but
it's a parting favor.
Right, exactly.
But you know, nevertheless, you really gotta give your hats off to the entire team of Straight Outta Scrub Cup. They understood the presence of the enemy ult charge. They knew that Pray for GG's had the Transcendence, so you could only imagine Fellow was communicating to his team, we need to kill off the Zenyatta. Bait out the Transcendence, big Dragon Blade came out, and what immediately followed as well was Franz ended up popping the Primal Rage once he felt necessary, and was just displacing the giant takes from the team of Desperados, unable to peel further squishies. Not a very happy place to be for a support, I can tell you that much.
I'll tell you what, though, Panda, at the very least, I think they're happy on the side of Desperados after such a big loss in that first fight where you have Pray for GGs get caught out very early, and they were able to force them only to 56 seconds. But 56 seconds isn't too bad of a time on Numbani. Numbani's not a map where you see 4 minutes on the clock ever, really.
No, you're exactly right by that. And you don't really see many teams take the first capture point on the first attack like that as well. They really stalled that out very well. You don't see an attacking Orisa coming out so far. Really heads-up gameplay coming out from Franz Jaeger.
He's doing a little dance right now, too, on his Winston, looking at this comp. So a team that was talking about Deadfall, they're playing a fairly, well, anti-dive comp pretty much is what it is right now. They've got the Winston Diva with the Soldier and Tracer, so and the Ana. So the Ana that we were talking about before, Panda, we get to see here now.
Yeah, and I am very excited to see how the two tanks of Macintosh and Friends end up playing this first defensive point. They can't go too deep because they know that the juicy target will be the two squishies on the back line. Fellow can protect the Ana for so long, but it really comes down to landing a lot of good skill shots. And if they're under immense pressure from, say, I don't know, garlic bread and pills on Winston and Diva, some things could go awry. But we'll have to see how it plays out.
Well, right now, Sora able to get Wolfer here early on, so already at a disadvantage for the attacking team, but Garlic Bread able to get 2 in both the Soldier and the Ana, although Franz Jaeger and Flexible on the counter dive, able to do a lot of damage to themselves, so this is fairly even here, but it looks like the team on attack is going to be able to clean it up, just have Flexible left to take out. They should be able to take this first point here.
A big dive coming through from Garlic Bread, followed up immediately by Pills, but the defense matrix missed the sleep dart, unfortunately, from Savanti, excuse me, but it was still beautiful play nevertheless. The whole entire team displacing the Soldier and the Ana is all you needed. Stuffing, wonderful dive play.
There is this last defense attempt here, though, by straight out of Scrub Cup. They can't stay on the point long enough, and they end up giving it up. Disastrous here now as the rest of the team falls, and they're going to get a very quick push here, at least at the start of this Streets phase.
Yeah, that's absolutely right by that, and the ult advantage swinging in their favor. They tried to stall out as much time as possible, but again, we are caught off guard by the 5-minute and 8-second time bank now that Desperados has to move through point B of Numbani, a high time bank to have, and a Sound Berry and a Transcendence to boot to come out on this next team fight. Garlic Bread has been getting a lot of good Goomba stomps as well, displacing and disrupting the entire team of Straight Outta Scrub Cup. They almost can't keep track of this enemy Winston.
Garlic Bread able to dive back to his team as well as the cart continues to move through the Streets phase, and here comes out the Dragon Blade, forces out the Transcendent Sound Barrier in response, though a little bit later as they engage onto the team, trying to get that Zenyatta down afterwards. Good pulse bomb by Wolford, gets the Genji too, just threw it out there, and then Ultra dashing in, takes out 2. The DPS doing some work here for the side of Desperados in combination with their tanks.
Getting a lot of good follow-up kills. In the end, you saw Pray for GG's getting his follow-up, his retribution, if you will, on the Flexible, getting that headshot. Not an easy headshot to get, track a enemy tracer like that, but found it in the end, and Desperados really following up really well, giving the dash resets to Ultra amidst that Dragon Blade, or I'm sorry, after the Dragon Blade, in fact. Once all of the healing was out of the way for Straight Outta Scrub Cup, it was just a couple dash resets away. Garlic Bread again, finding a good couple dives, but a Dragon Blade of its own by Fellow. Here he goes.
And he hasn't been able to get stopped yet. There's no defensive ult to take care of it. He continues to slash his way through, and it looks like it's going to have to be a regroup here from the attacking team in Desperados. Their tank's the only ones alive, and Pills gets popped out of the mech, so able to stay alive, but it's going to have to go back there and get remeched.
Yeah, they're just gonna let Pills decide whether or not you want to jump off, and you're gonna stay in the Baby Diva format. Try to get this mech as quick as possible. Will lose time in the end, and if he dies, that's gonna be even more time. But the big heads-up play from Straight Outta Scrub Cup came out from Fellow, using the Dragon Blade, one ultimate use for a nice defensive hold. The self-destruct is gonna come through, not find any kills, but that pulse bomb will, being able to stick Pray for GG, is gonna kill off the Pilot Diva. A lot of time used from Desperados, but they still have 4 minutes and 30 seconds, Labasco, so it still looks pretty good.
And they forced out a couple of ultimates with that. The good bubble doesn't get anybody killed, but it forces out that extra ult, and now they just have 2 defensive ults that they'll have to get through. But that's the thing, though, 2 defensive ults here, Panda. I mean, you're in a pretty good situation still if you're Scrub Cup.
Absolutely, and as you're just walking in here using and seeing the enemy team use one ultimate after another, you have to be feeling good because you're just gaining more ultimates one after another, and the more ultimates you have, the easier it'll be to use the time bank to your advantage. And you can see they're just squashing them now, picking them off for their aggressive positioning here. It's just this enemy Genji that's in the backline will find Pray for GG's. So the over-aggression is panning out. They will lose one support, but that aggression that came through from Straight Outta Scrub Cup in the upper room did not pan out in their favor. Ultra came up huge, dashing through the entire enemy team, catching them all off guard.
Was that just a positioning error? Because, I mean, they had 2 defensive ults going into that, as they're almost close to getting that. We're going to answer after we get through this team fight here. Sora ulting on top of the cart with the Transcendence. Fellow using the Dragon Blade. Good stick by Flexible as well, as they continue to push onto this cart. Self-destruct in desperation won't get anybody, and it's going to have to be a regroup here. So even though they lost that one fight, they win that one, getting really close. But like you said, a lot of time on the clock. But back to what I was asking you before, was that aggressive positioning maybe just the cause of them losing that first fight to allow the cart to get this close?
More or less, you end up seeing a lot of tanks try to take that high ground, so that way they can gain a little bit of information. Information is gold in a game like Overwatch, so you can know where they're coming from, where heroes are coming from, and stuff like that. It's very important, but they got caught out, and I'm not too sure if they were able to gain a full advantage from the support ultimates, as they were too far away from the tanks. Not a lot of mobility on Sora for the Zenyatta. Speaking of that, being able to get caught out from the dive of Pills, being damage boosted by Mercy, that's a lot of damage from the micro missiles.
Pray for GG's is very close to being taken out, but he's able to stay alive, so Steam's still in this fight, but the self-destruct gets the Mercy and Pills out of mech, so that's probably going to be a team fight that's over. GG's went down as well, so they will have to regroup here. They still have the advantage as far as the time clock's concerned, and they force some ultimates.
Absolutely right by that, and good play coming out again from Franz, being able to dive, finding out that Pray for GG's might not be able to get the peel that he needed ever so quickly, and as Galaxy was across the map damage boosting and keeping the tanks of Garlic Bread and Pills alive, it left Pray for GG's very low, ended up getting caught out, and then the self-destruct came through to find Galaxy. No more heals, and the defenders did have the ever so wonderful spawn room advantage, paid off in their favor. They got 4 ultimates, Labasco.
Yeah, they're still in a pretty good spot for this defense here, and of course the all-important Dragon Blade. Transcendence has to be used here early, so look for Fellow maybe to pop that Dragon Blade soon. Coalescence out here to keep everybody up as well. After the Franz Jaeger using the Primal Rage, and there comes the Dragon Blade slashing in as Fellow. He gets Galaxy first, then finds himself a Pharah afterwards. So 2 big important eliminations that will allow for the team to hold on to this point for a little bit longer, and it looks like they're going to have the bigger time bank even if Desperados finishes this.
And Fellow's been going huge the entire past 3 minutes and 30 seconds on this point C. 4 Straight Outta Scrub Cup, clipping the wings that time of both the Mercy and the Pharah. Not easy to do with the dash and slash resets, but damn did he find a good way of doing it. Sticking it again with a nice Dragon Blade, and now they have a self-destruct and a Transcendence. They just have to be patient against the Pharah barrage and not be caught out by bad positioning from Pill self-destruct, and they should be sitting pretty for a nice defense.
Yeah, fellow Haloer can definitely play more than just Halo. There's no doubt about that. The defensive ultimate up here for Sora for the Transcendence. See when he decides to pop that. Wolfer, though, with a good start, taking out one of the counterpart DPS and Flexible. So good, at least, advantage here. But here comes the Transcendence as the team starts to push in. Self-destruct over the top. Won't find anything, but it does force the supports have to going towards the main of the defensive team. But Ultra using that barrage, able to get Macintosh out of mech. So good situation here. Coalescence to try and keep everybody up and deal some damage, but the kill feed still keeps going in favor of the attacking team. Fellow with another Dragon Blade, but he's quickly taken out by Wolfer. They will get into overtime here, but if they can clean this up, they should have a chance here. They'll get one more attack after this as they finally do clear it off, and the Primal Rage just not able to get there.
And just pray for GG's. Ending up finding Sora right after the Transcendence. One of the most beautiful part about Moore is you're able to flank in and out, especially with the Fade ability. Beautiful play coming across the board from Desperados. But nevertheless, they will have a minute to push it again. And you have to start wondering within your own self if the dive and the flanks from Flexible were getting a little bit too predictable towards the end. I mean, time and time again, Wolfer was able to find him, whether it was with the Helix Rocket or good melee to follow up with just one dink on the head. Just good heads-up play to keep his supports alive. And you could see in that dire moment, it really paid off for the boys in blue.
It definitely did, and when you look at it here, Panda, it looks like we're going to see basically the same thing that we saw when Desperados first attacked when they went on their attack last time. So it looks like very similar comps as far as the start here. You still have the Soldier with the Tracer on the defense for Scrub Cup, and you have, of course, the Genji Tracer on the other side. So should we expect the same thing, or do you think that maybe Scrub Cup thinks that they know what to expect after seeing one attack from Desperados?
It works so well, you might as well try it one more time. You only get one or maybe two more pushes. Probably just one, considering the walk is so long from spawn. But they need to find Fellow and Savanti on this high ground again, so that way they can enable a quick capture and get a decent amount of meter on the streets phase of Numbani. And they're already in here trying to find him immediately, but the stuffed Galaxy.
Very good use of the nade by Savanti onto Galaxy, but the kill's still following in. The Tracer takes out the Zenyatta as well, so now it's just the tanks left on there, but they're doing the damage needed to get Pills out at the very least, so it's going to have to be a regroup here from Desperados. So even though there was that early kill on the Galaxy, it looked like there was a chance, but not quite.
And regroup with 14 seconds left, so they need to be careful. Probably need to rely on Wolfer on this flank to touch the point, because we're under 10 seconds on Labasco with no ultimates near. Ultra switching to Soldier to get back to the point faster. The only ultimate we're nearing is closer to be the Franz and Macintosh on the defending team for both tank ultimates. That's not good, but Desperado's able to proc overtime.
The one thing is their positioning wasn't as good as it was on that first defense, so Ultra able to take advantage of that on the high ground, get Sora and Savanti, so both of the supports out, just need to clear off the rest of the team, and they can start pushing this card. But a very good concerted attack, getting that Soldier up on high ground, definitely helped them out. So, I mean, that's a good switch, Panda, to know that they were going to not be able to get back in a high ground position, Ultra switching from the Genji to the Soldier.
Absolutely right by that, just wanting the little extra oomph from the legs of Soldier 76 to get back to the point, but was able to contest from afar on to Fellow, who was just trying to keep the poor Ana alive, had to drop to the high ground, and it was just mauled by Garlic Bread on this Winston. Enabled him to earn a Primal Rage, so you had to expect, Labasco, that there's a decent amount more of meters to earn for Desperados as we're inching our way around point B of Numbani.
Especially with the ults that just came up, they're going to have the Transcendence. It's going to come here, used early.
Oh no!
Garlic Bread up through it though, as he goes down, but now they get the Visor here, and it does get Savanti. Visor getting two more, and Sora and Jaeger, so the Visor being huge for the team here. They got to make sure they stay on the card though, Fellow there to deal some damage. They do have their Lucio though back, and they do have a short spawn to get right back to the card, so they will keep the push going with everybody is the good thing.
And one of the more beautiful parts about that was Garlic Bread died, Ultra used the Tactical Visor, so Garlic Bread still has an opportunity to use this Primal Rage. So again, we're back to the proc of maybe this Primal Rage is going to give them a certain amount of meters, and they're just nearing that second capture point, Labasco.
And they're dealing damage as well. Pray for GG's with a good click on Franz Jaeger. That forces back the defensive team in Scrub Cup, so they get this second point now, and they didn't have to use Primal Rage yet. And guess what's building up here? A sound barrier, and they're about to get up a self-destruct too.
A self-destruct as well, and Ultra has just been a nuisance on this front line. They're unable to deal with this man. He is halfway to another Tactical Visor, but you have to feel in the back of your mind of the Desperados that Fellow is nearing this Genji Blade, and as the Coalescence comes through, it's going to be nearer and nearer. The sound barrier was used, so here comes the Dragon Blade.
Dragon Blade out, going towards the black line. Pray for just doing as much damage as he can. Fellow took a while to get him, and his blade is over. He only gets one kill out of it. See if Desperados takes advantage of it. Self-destruct doesn't get anything from Pills. Now the counter self-destruct also not getting anything. So now it's just going to be a straight-up brawl on the card. Who can do more damage? And now finally the Primal Rage used by Garlic Bread, who's able to hold on to that for so long, forces the team back, as they should be able to get this card moving in a second.
Garlic Bread had to use the Primal Rage to keep himself alive, took half of the damage of his life from the self-destruct, but here comes the Tactical Visor from Ultra, well earned again, and it's just clearing everybody off. Macintosh was the first to fall out of the Diva Mech, looking good so far, this attacking team.
Kills able to get Franz Jaeger, who trickled back onto the cart just to try and stall a little bit here as his team tries to regroup. But Wolfer catching Flexible. Big loss of the DPS there, as they're not going to be able to completely regroup now.
Oh, big stick on the soil again. Wolfer finding these picks at the spawn doors. Big thorn in the side of that is going to be the Scrub Cup there. And as the kill feed bleeding in blue, Labasco, we are just inches for Desperados to get all 3 points in overtime.
And they're not able to get these kills yet for Scrub Cup, and the Primal Rage doesn't get anything. Galaxy with the right click for the kill there. That does allow for the rest of the team to start to trickle back on, but self-destruct onto the cart might let them push it the rest of the way, and it does. So in overtime, from the time they took over that first point all the way to get a third point here, as they will be up now with a 6-3 score. I mean, Panda, what went wrong there for Scrub Cup towards the end when it looked like maybe they would have a chance?
And just the snowball effect time and time again. And that's why you see teams like to use dive and be very patient with their ult advantage. It almost got stuffed there, but Ultra came huge. Again, I have to still speculate that he wanted to switch to this hero to get back to the point faster just on that one push, but he was like, you know what? I'm clicking the heads. I'm getting the ults. I'm making this push happen for my team. I might as well keep playing this hero. And damn, did it really pay off dividends. And so, in fact, he's going to come out here on defense on it. He was probably going to do it. This is what they had on the last one. But I would more or less like to say that the staggering kills that were coming through towards the ends of Teamfight, Flexible, on that last one was the most relevant highlight on my mind because it just happened. That push was so quick, Labasco. But just trying to get out of the spawn door to try to find a cheeky advantage on either Pray for GG's or Galaxy. And then got stuffed. Wolfer with the heads-up play on the spawn doors immediately for 2 kills. And especially in overtime, that spawn is a long time. But the time advantage was in the favor of Scrub Cup, so they got a minute and 55, about a minute 45 when they finally get to the point. They're coming out here with a Far Mercy, so it should be a lot of work for Ultra, but a good Discord on either of those targets, and they could fall pretty quick.
We'll see how it happens. The one difference from the last time they played defense for Desperados, they have a Mercy now. Instead of on the Lucio, Galaxy on the Mercy. Steve, that makes it different. Pray for GG's, though, goes down again early. Macintosh taking him out as far as the defense. But this time they have the res from Galaxy. Sora, though, able to take Garlic Bread out in the meantime while that happens. So down a tank and Sora on the Zenyatta. Finding everybody, finds the Soldier 76 now in Ultra, so they will be able to take this here as backing up is the rest of Desperados. They want to have the early hold here, it looks like, with a minute 8 left on the clock.
Yeah, sometimes when Zenyatas get mad and you don't want to experience tranquility, you have to experience an orb of destruction to either the body and the face, and a really good heads-up play is going to earn so much ult charge for Sora. Will fall to the end. Garlic Bread with a nice dive, but they can't keep Galaxy alive, so no heals on the side for Desperados. Pray for GG's has a lot of work cut out for him, but the Brawl coming back and forth will go in the favor for Desperados so far, but not if you get caught up by a self-destruct.
And Fellow used the ultimate of the barrage in a just an odd place and ends up now losing the ult, and that allows Ultra just to do all the damage needed, so they're going to hold on defensively here. One more attacking opportunity for Scrub Cup.
Wow. Giving away the 2 ticks. They were able to play that little corner so cheeky there, Labasco, as they're going to end up having the ults. Flexible and Fellow, they used their ults because they thought that they could capture the point, but Fellow with a nice rocket boosted up by Mercy will kill off Wolfer. 1 DPS down, that's huge. Now they just need to stuff it again, but Garlic Bread again finding the response kill is going big for his team time and time again.
Galaxy quickly with the res back on to Pray for GG's to try and swing it in, and it's a good res because it has the Transcendence. He's Ultra able to get the Diva out of max, so one thing down, but Fellow's still able to do damage from above, able to take out Wolfer. A little bit of DPS gone now. The Zen versus Zen battle, Sora wins that one, so Sora with that big win, that might be enough there, but Pills gets 2 with the self-destruct, gets the Pharmacy combo out of the air. Primal Rage being used here, but it's going right into a visor, so a lot of damage into the Winston just trying to stay alive, and then the Winston on the other side, and Garlic Bread able to use his, and they clear this point off, and they win this first map.
Overtime will not last for a long time, and Scrub Cup has to be scratching their heads just a little bit. Pretty impressive play coming out from the defense there. having high mobility, able to get back to the point in time, and they took a little bit of a regroup there, Lobosco. You saw just able to get onto the point as 4, almost 5. Very impressive play, but nice play of the game from Pills. Good self-destructs coming through time and time again. We saw was that big self-destruct towards the end, killing off the far Mercy on his own. Typically, you see a ulting soldier do that, but not today. Good self-destruct by Pills. We'll give them the map victory.
Yeah, and Pray for GG's ends up having 58 defensive assists, so you know his orbs were at least getting some value because they were on targets that were doing damage, so that's impressive to see too. I mean, watching that first game though, Panda, it was a fun game. It was back and forth throughout the entire time, and honestly, it felt like a map that could have gone either way.
You are absolutely right by that, my man. I mean, considering that it was Desperados that were desperate on their push there, they didn't have the time advantage. You got to remember that against Straight Outta Scrub Cup, but with the odds stacked against them, they really brought it out. The Wild West symbolism to Nubani, of all places, sticking tried and true, getting all 6 capture points, and then stuffing, only giving 2 ticks to Straight Outta Compton. That's a really good, Straight Outta Scrub Cup. I'm sorry. I'm going to be making that mistake just like you tonight, Lobosco, but never in the end. Really good play coming out there to turn the tides against their enemies.
Do you think that was the biggest change? Or what do you think was the biggest... what really determined this game, do you think, for Desperados?
It's honestly hard to say looking back at it now, but typically when teams do have a struggle on the dive v dive kind of targets, especially when it was on that last point for Straight Outta Scrub Cup to push that last part there, dive v dive is hard because it all comes down to who you're focusing. So the shot caller of Desperados might have decided to focus that we're not looking at the right target, so we need to change it up. And then they were able to gain the advantage on these team fights and turn the tides of their favor to get it all the way to 6. I mean, in overtime, still always impressive, man. I got to say
yeah, for sure. There's no doubt about that. And I mean, for Straight Outta Scrub Cup, I feel like maybe one of the biggest things that I saw was I think it was just Fellow just accidentally using his ultimate in a disadvantageous spot. I think he was trying to get back towards his Mercy, and I think he just fat thumbed the Q because there was nobody near him when he used his ultimate. And if he ults on point, we're still probably talking right now, and I'm getting close to losing my voice because they're probably still pushing the cart. So I feel like it was something that was super, super close. And our next map here is another map that can be super difficult and super close because we're going now to Temple of Anubis. From what we've seen already, what should we look for here going into this next map, Panda?
Well, you know, on the second point for defense and attack, Deathball can actually be pretty good. So I expect the Straight Out of Scrub Cup boys to pull it out of their hats. Maybe a couple more tanks coming out. You know, Assault map playstyle, Horizon and Temple of Anubis, respectively, are where Slambulance made their shine. And with Brigitte out of the map pool tonight, Lobosco might end up seeing it come out.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, at the very least, we should expect maybe a triple tank somewhere in there, right?
Yeah, I would certainly hope so. I mean, Zarya, Roadhog, and Reinhardt on that third point is just pure damage. I mean, Whole Hog into Graviton Surge, those that you don't know, is a massacre, especially when it's huge and you don't move. All that garbage from the chain gun of Roadhog is immense. It's just crazy, but a lot of meat to grind through for the defending team, especially when you're stuffed in a snowball effect. It could happen, but it's looking like as this attacking team is coming out here, this defending team's coming out, they're going a little bit more of a Overwatch League-esque strategy, if you will, setting up on high ground, using Ultra that swapped over to Mei, so that way they can gain the Orisa high ground advantage, defender's advantage for Wolfer, sit behind the shield, trying to click the foreheads of the enemy team. Pray for GG sticking on that Pendants and Yada. But Garlic Bread on the Orisa played only Winston the last map, if I do so remember correctly. So I'm pretty interested to see how he's going to be able to perform on the OR15 remake model.
I'm actually very okay with the fact that Scrub Cup is also going with sort of a diving sort of comp, and they were showing the for a second they had Sombra, but then they switched it back over to a Widow. So it's Widow v Widow here, so we'll have to pay attention to those Widowmakers on either side, see who can get those early picks. Ultra, though, going to beat the Widows to a pick, takes out Savanti, so the attacking team going to have to wait here for a second as they need their support player back, and fellow Halo are just kind of going to deal some damage out here in the meantime.
Had to have been the most perfectly calculated grenade I've ever seen out of Ultra. Probably will see all day, but nevertheless, once you're down that main healer, like you said, very hard to commit a push. And they swapped from Sombra to Widowmaker because they had no real way of getting to the opening. So a certain amount of focus from Wolfer onto Fellow will gain the advantage for Macintosh and France to get in there, but not so long as being damage boosted. The body shot on the Sora. Very unfortunate. One support down again, and they might have to decide now, do we push or do we go back?
And Wolfer had a super early too. Had the infrared sight, so that was part of the reason why they were able to get that first pick. So they're still holding on top of the point here, not allowing the Tracer to really distract them too much as Flexible now comes back on. Pills, though, able to take out Franz Jaeger, so one tank down. Diva Mac out of the picture as well, so now they start to stream onto this point, looking to take out the Tracer and the baby Diva here. Just trying to get that damage out as Ultra. He's also very close to a Riptire, and as I say that, he just gets it. So they now have a lot of ultimates to work from this next tap, and they stagger Flexible at the end there, and they res Pray for GG's back. So they're back to a full 6 without having to get anybody to come back from a long spawn.
The Garlic Bread didn't even have to move. Had to reset one more shield for Wolfer, and ended up killing Savanti on the way out, ended up punishing Fellhander, who procced the Venom Mine at the top of the archway there. And Wolfer and Garlic Bread are Risa and Widowmaker respectively, not budging an inch. And no ticks given over to the attacking team straight out of Scrum Cup. They need to find an answer.
Good start to this as well as Ultra got one with the Riptire, then finds Flexible afterwards. Galaxy finding a kill as well, pulled out the Mercy gun and gets one, and Ultra has been showing off on this Junkrat, continuing to take out targets that are needed for his team as he comes in, deals a little more. Does manage to get taken out by the headshot of Fellow, but Fellow quickly gets taken out by Wolfer, winning that Diva battle.
And Ultra's just going to be resurrected again. Not a resurrection coming through amidst a team fight. So Galaxy, after a team fight, will resurrect his fallen comrades. And Desperados back into a full 6 again. Fellow switching over to the Genji now. They're going to try to full dive this Widowmaker off. But they're a minute into this, almost in overtime now here. Labasco on the loss for words because they need to find an answer. Finally, Wolfer has to move.
Sound barrier by Savanti here. Doesn't get too many targets, but Fellow does manage to get Garlic Bread. Ultra, though, able to get Flexible with the Riptire. So Pray for GG's will pop the Transcendence, goes onto the point, healing everybody at least on the low ground. High ground, they're still trying to win that battle, and they're doing that so far as they take out Sora and Fellow. Self-destruct down onto the point as well. Flexible able to get away from it, but it doesn't really matter because there's not many players left. They're going to try and take out the Diva quickly, who tries to just get on Wolfer with the help of the Winston, but they still haven't been able to. Wolfer in a battle with the baby Diva as well. Able to get away, has 1 HP though, and finally Macintosh will take out Wolfer, so they do get the Widowmaker out here, but that's not a lot considering they have to get onto this point here in a second. Halo Fellow able to get on just in time, but quickly eliminated by GG's.
Oh man, and Garlic Bread, just the tracking of a legend, finding these shots over and over again on the supports who were the only ones alive, and it will be almost a full hold from Desperados. It is a full hold, in fact. They didn't even get a tick. Wow, that's crazy. Good hold, full hold coming out from Desperados, looking darn good on the Orisa composition. Didn't have to budge until the last second. Fellow had to swap to Genji to finally get an inch of ground earned for Scrub Cup. He got a reflect kill. He was reflecting Wolfer's shot, and he got the headshot onto to Garlic Bread. Actually, that was pretty nuts how that whole team fight actually started off. The headshot coming through. I was sitting here trying to calculate it in my mind, and I was like, oh, he was reflecting. Yeah, the entire time. It was insane. But full hold again. So 1 tick needs to be earned from the team that prefers to run dive here, Labasco.
And that's advantageous for them if you tell them they need to dive onto the first point only to get 1 tick, which is customarily a very good place to try and dive on. Fellow Halo are showing us the Sombra right now. Now, here's my question. Was Fellow switch onto the Genji maybe a little bit too late? Obviously, hindsight's 2020, but do you think if he switches on it sooner that they maybe have a better chance? Because his Widowmaker was shut down pretty well, not because of the other Widowmaker, not that Wolfer didn't do a good job, but he just didn't have the sight lines, it seemed.
Yeah, absolutely right by that. I mean, I think Fellow needed to come out on the Genji immediately. Not a lot of space was created for a Widowmaker to find the kills, and no shielding was available for her to find the headshots amidst it all. So Wolfer was just uncontested the entire time until Genji was directed in her face. Like I said, finally used the hook one time, ever so giving her that that high ground advantage. But you'd have to want to come out on it again. But Fellow understands. Wolfer's probably not coming out to attack on Widowmaker. Most people don't unless otherwise advised to. Gonna come out on the Tracer instead. So the Sombra pick might pay its dividends this time.
We'll see how it does. Wolfer taken out early by Franz Jaeger, but Pills and Pray for 2-3 on the point right now, contesting, though, as that battle goes on above. So the last couple of players left alive for straight up Scrub Cup coming onto the cart now. Just the tanks and one healer left alive in Sora. Sora, though, on the Moira, able to just escape. McIntosh able to get Pills at the very least, but the respawn's coming back in for Desperados. It feels like it's only a matter of time. Self-destruct and desperation here. Not able to get anybody.
And they're not losing any footing on this one take. The kill's still coming through. Unable to 1v6 an entire team. Will be flexible. And so long as they're unable to get a footing, it's just a little bit left, Labasco.
Very little bit left. Franz Jaeger, the last one alive, and he goes down. And now it's a a map win for Desperados again. They go up 2-0.
Going up 2-0 in a 4-map set. They are one game out here, Labasco, from taking the map set victory. So looking pretty good so far in this series. You see the play a game coming out again. Here was Garlic Bread. This immense tracking I was talking about with his own halt. The Bongo Supercharger landing the headshots with the Pulse Supercharger. I know it was almost point blank, but that's still crazy.
It was pretty insane, and that ends up being the play of the game. That exact moment you were talking about is kind of a cool thing that ends up being a play of the game here, but
I am the play of the game manager.
So up 2-0 here for Desperados going into this. We are going to take a short little break, but before we go to that, I mean, Desperados looking really good here, Panda. What needs to happen, though, for straight out of Scrub Cup in these next two maps in order to get this back to even? I mean, looking at what the next two maps are that we're going to go to, they still have a chance here. I mean, the next one is going to be Ilios, and then we go to Watch Point Gibraltar after that. So are these maps that maybe can help Desperados out, but also, or sorry, not Desperados, straight out of Scrub Cup? What needs to happen for them?
I got a simple tactic here for you, Labasco. They need to click on their heads. Lol. But at the end of the day, what straight out of Scrub Cup needs to do, they need to find an answer to either Wolfer or Garlic Bread. I think this DPS tank duo coming out from the team of Desperados is just creating so much pressure and so much presence on the capture points, payloads, everything that we've played thus far in the series, that straight out of Scrub Cup has yet to find an answer. Whether they kill Wolfer, then they need to deal with Garlic Bread and the rest of the tank line behind him. If they deal with Garlic Bread one time, then it's the DPS they need to dive next, and they're without their cooldowns and a lot of health from trying to whittle down a giant tank of Garlic Bread from playing Winston and then Orisa. So it doesn't exactly leave a lot of openings. But what I think worked out for them best on Nubani was when they were diving Pray for GG's over and over again. It seems that Pray for GG's has a certain vocal input, especially on that Zenyatta. Discord Orb down, that's less damage coming to your Winston, so enabling a lot more of a dive tactic. Like I said, we're moving over here to a control map style. Helios for them. So dives will be prevalent. I only imagine Pray for GG's is going to come out on the Zenyatta again. So it's going to come down to Fellow and Flexible. Again, looked really good on the beginning of that map on Nubani to find the flanks onto Pray for GG. It's going to have to do it again.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what we'll see. I mean, we haven't seen him play anything really other, I think, than the Zenyatta from Pray for GG's. Now for the side of Desperados, what do they need to do here to get that one map win that they need to at least take the set? I mean, they've been playing really good. They played offensively, they played really good on Nimbani. Defensively, they were a little shaky, but they were able to turn it around on their second defense. And then they just dominated on Temple of Anubis. It was all about them. For them going into this second set of maps, what do they need to do to continue that trend?
It seems like they have a playbook here. I mean, they definitely know these maps. They definitely have an understanding of what compositions they want to play. When Garlic Bread came out there so quickly, they understood, and it was, I believe, either Galaxy or Ultra on the May pick. That's not time spent if it's unspent, or if it's not spent properly. I'm sorry, excuse me. On that defense, so to pull out the May to go back to spawn, to come out on a quick hero to get that high ground quickly. So this team of Desperados seems to have an understanding of what they want to play, and they just need to stick to it. Just need to stick to their communication, stick to having a good time, and making sure that they are finding the picks necessary and adjusting when need be. Because let's not forget, on Nubani, it was straight out of Scrub Cup that was coming up ahead on those team fights more often than not. And Desperados, they had to adjust and readjust again just to capture the point. They were down in time bank advantage, but when that readjustment was made, whatever it was, played off beautifully. They were able to get all those extra points in overtime.
Yeah, that's very true. I think that's a good point. Is that and to what you were talking about earlier with Straight Out of Scrub Cup, it was when they were diving Pray for GGs that they were really having the most success. So I guess the thing to look at, right, is how is Pray for GG's survivability in these next two maps then?
On Zenyatta, it's very difficult considering that he is the least mobility target or least mobile target in a dive composition. So it really comes down to his tank players, Garlic Bread and Pills, again, to enable a certain amount of defense peel, if you will, in games like these, to keep the Zenyatta alive, because that Transcendence healing is just unparalleled. And that Discord Orb target, obviously, there's no other target like that. I mean, chasing the purple ball as Garlic Bread on Winston, always a fun game to play as a main tank. Got to keep your buddy alive.
Of course. And we'll look to see if they do keep them alive here in just a few. We'll be right back here with Broadcast GG in this core Brawl match that we have going on Scrim Night. All right, and we are back here on Broadcast GG. Is Labasco here along with Panda as we are getting ready for our third map here in this Scrim Knights matchup. Of course, it's a special Scrim Knights, though. Of course, we have to remember that this is a core brawl matchup between Desperados and Straight out of Scrub Cup, as we are going to Ilios as our next map. And Panda, what to look for here on Ilios? Obviously, 3 different maps that we can see 3 very different comps on.
Well, I hope that we do get to see well. I hope we don't have a 2-0 from Ruins, but let's go ahead and talk about that one first on Ruins. Now, what we saw on Anubis, Ruins, I'm sure you know at home, a lot of Widowmaker play stuffs your games in queue a lot. So expect to see Fellow and Wolfer coming out respectively. If we end up having a well matchup, now that's where things can get exciting because we have seen 2 Orisa players on each team, Garlic Bread and Franz respectively. Now the first map is going to be Lighthouse though, Labasco, and on Lighthouse it's full dive all the time. There's too much high ground advantageous. You want to take it away from your team and you want to keep it for your team. So that way, like we were speaking before this, to keep your Zenyatta alive would mean everything. Now, Galaxy, we know that you're not allowed to be playing that hero, so don't be being too cheeky there.
I like how the first the first map that we get is the one that you didn't talk about first. It was like it's like they wanted you to talk about every single map, Panda.
It was methodical casting.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And Wolfer was messing with us there. Went on to the Brigitte, who's not available yet. Can't play her. So that is one thing to remember for those of you watching who maybe are frequenters of the Broadcast GG Scrim Knights. This is a core brawl rule set because this is a matchup for core brawl. So things are a little bit different here. That you also won't see any special skins, but you will see golden guns though, Panda. That's the important thing.
Golden guns, what makes the world go round in the realm of Overwatch. But we got a little bit of a different composition coming out. Oh, pause is going to come through, but a different composition is going to come out. Take a look at this. Got Ultra and Galaxy. Got a Farm Mercy. But on the side, take a look. You got Fellow on the Soldier and Sora on the Zenyatta. So light healing to face the area of effective damage from the rockets of Ultra. But they're well equipped to deal with the Pharmacy right away. Discord Orb, Soldier to whittle down, and space to be created from the dive tanks. They're pretty well set up to stuff what I can only imagine they wanted. Desperados. They wanted to probably catch the team off guard, as this isn't a ultimately good Pharah map, but this is probably her best Pharah map on Ilios for sure.
Do you? I was going to ask. That was actually the question I was going to ask you. Would you say this is a better map or Well? Because to me, I've always felt like maybe Well was a little bit better for her, just because there's a lot more verticality. It seems like, and there's not enclosed spaces on the point really to kind of hide. You do have what the small health pack is, but this is a point that's completely enclosed. So that was actually my question. So we do get to see the Pharmacy comp here, and Garlic Bread going to start off taking out Sora. So regardless, it's going good at least early on here, though Garlic Bread maybe a little overzealous, gets taken out by Mac.
Yeah, and will get punished for it nevertheless, but without one healer compared to one tank, how does it truly play in the favor? But it will play in the favor. Like I said, this team is very well equipped to deal with the Pharmacy. In the end, they gave the point away, but that is a smart move from the now attacking team onto the point, as they just need to get onto it, but they were punished because they had a well-oriented defense on the point already. Well done out from Desperados, the boys in blue, if you will. And what you have here is a well-equipped Ultra in the sky, landing a direct rocket onto Sora, and then Garlic Bread dove in immediately to whittle down with the Tickle Cannon on the already low Sora. Already very low to death again. Needs to be very careful. I'm gonna get the heals that he needs.
Ultra getting a lot of those rockets out with that damage boost from the Mercy onto targets and getting them very close. They haven't been able to take anybody out. Ultra having to go away now, getting very close to death, but not being able to take out. Comes back into the fight now, but Macintosh able to find Wolfer in the meantime. Rocket Barrage up here, though, now for Ultra. See if he can turn this around with that. Comes on to the point, holding on to it still. Has the self-destruct that gets thrown out, but Pill's quickly taken out. So that's not going to matter much. See, like, they maybe will just stall here, but Ultra coming on to the point does use the Barrage now and takes out one. Primal Rage onto the point as well. And now the Visor in retaliation from Fellow, able to get one target in Galaxy. Now just looking for that pesky Winston. And oh, the Transcendence used there. Panda, that actually might end up hurting them, that being used there, but it does keep everybody up at the very least.
It does keep everybody alive, but you might have wanted to call your Angel to the God of Destruction to reverse time just a little bit to get that Transcendence back in your pocket, because they need to be ready for the damage that's inbound. Though Sora proccing that, because Sora's been under immense pressure this entire game, Labasco. To this Pharah, getting direct rocketed left and right, low mobility on the Zenyatta, needing to be very careful, but Garlic Bread again going too deep.
The nice thing is they did have a sound barrier at the very least, so it might end up being okay that they ended up Fellow able to get two there. Sora gets one. Franz is just going to reset. Pills. Or actually, sorry, Franz ends up just diving off the top. I'm sorry, it was the other side that they were just trying to reset. So now Desperados resetting here. Didn't see how Franz ended up going off the edge, but that's not too big serious of a loss because they have to regroup on the other side.
Absolutely right by that, and he is Winston, so high mobility. We'll be able to get back to this defense very quickly, but Garlic Bread again trying to initiate on the dive targets from Ultra, getting those direct rockets onto Fellow. That's the one hit enemy you want down. Now Ultra can more or less fly free, but unable to peel for his Lucio. One healer down again for the boys in blue.
They at least still have their Mercy here. Self-destruct off of the point. Won't be able to do too much, and Pill's able to take out the Diva. So not even able to remap out of the entire thing. Primal Rage on the point here just to try and get things back in their favor, but it seems like it's a matter of time as they quickly dive onto the soldier on the high ground, and Primal Rage into him to take him and just send him flying. And they get this point back, and they're at 75%. So percentages are close. But with that advantage of having it right now, Desperados, and maybe one more fight left to try and win.
Yeah, I'm gonna be looking towards Ultra to go huge with this Pharah Barrage. Able to find one in the past, but with the full team now up and available, the peel should be wonderful to see. Galaxy will have the Valkyrie, not needing to pull it because Garlic Bread with a nice peel on Fellow, not finding any kills from that tactical visor.
Taken out right away. Now Ultra uses the Barrage, finds Sora, trying to get the damage out onto the Diva. Not able to get it out of mech, but now with the rest of the team able to sound way to the mech. Pulse Bomb into the middle doesn't get anybody, but Wolfer doing the rest of the work that's needed, as long with Pills and Galaxy pulling out the Blaster on Mercy to help get a kill onto Savanti. And they have this overtime meter gone, and they go up 1-0.
Slow, methodical play. They almost gave up too much room for effort there, but the last flip came through, and the last two team fights came out. Desperados came up clutch. Galaxy having that Valkyrie was very well timed. Ultra in good company from a nice play sound barrier from Play for GG's. You don't typically hear a Pharah say that entire voice line, but that time you will with the overshield buff coming through the sound barrier. Good play, but you got to give a couple good heads up to Straight Out of Scrub Cup. They were really giving Desperados a run for their money.
A little bit of changes here too, Panda. Now you'll have Wolfer on to the McCree, and you're going to have Fellow go to the Pharah. So we have a Pharah on either side, but Tracer and McCree, the two different DPSs on either side. So we do get that Pharah battle here now between these two, something we thought maybe we were going to get a little bit earlier. Ultra going in, and he finds his first target in Sora. Avoids Fellow there, but very close to getting taken out. But Ultra does eventually Fellow winning the Sky battle, but maybe wins it too late is the only question, as a couple of his players already taken out.
And that's the one difference in between these two Pharahs. Fellow was focusing out the Sky for Ultra, but Ultra was landing rockets of the area splash damage onto the team Straight Out of Scrub Cup, so one paying more dividends. And yes, Pharah may be seen more often on well. You can already see Fellow swapping over to the Soldier 76. They need help against Ultra. So long as he's playing very patiently around these buildings, sticking alive, that's why you see him playing it on Lighthouse because he can fly up and around these buildings and keep himself alive and get damage boosted by Mercy. Galaxy keeping himself alive, just clinging on to this Pharah, keeping the rest of his team alive at that.
Not only that, the Wolf are doing work on that. McCree already almost has the Deadeye as well, so both DPS ultimates very close to coming up. Flexible close to the Pulse Bomb, but of course since Fellows switched over to the Soldier 76, he's got a while before he has his, and a lot of the other ults very close for Desperados as well. As this next fight looks like it's just about to get started. Going around the back way has been Scrub Cup, and that ends up not being too good because Garlic Bread is able to dive from behind onto Fellow, and then the Deadeye does get Sora, so down quickly too, and then they're continuing to clean up, and that's going to force back Scrub Cup.
Fellow Haler just swapping again to Genji at this point. Probably a little bit more of a comfort pick coming out from this DPS player, straight out of Scrub Cup Labasco, but never in the end, they're still unable to find an answer. Garlic Bread not giving Fellow Soldier any room to breathe, and you can see the ult advantage. They're about to have 5 ultimates out of 6 for Desperados at 80%. If they play this very carefully, here's going to come a Pharah Barrage, playing it very, very carefully, 1 ultimate at a time. They can hold this for as long as they want.
They get 2 there. Matt does manage to get 1 Primal Rage, able to get another one at... So they have a chance to turn this fight around. Just see how they use the rest of their ultimates for Desperados. Self-destruct onto the point by Pills. Manages to get Flexible, who couldn't avoid it. Overtime back here. Savanti on to the point, just trying to stall. Pills able to take out Franz Jaeger, so one of the tanks gone. Now it's just the Genji and Fellow who's quickly melted down, and now it's just a Diva trying to get on, and Mac just gets there before the overtime meter comes out, but quickly taken out.
As you're facing against 6 enemies, there is not much you can do. Again, Flexible trying to be as flexible as possible, fighting all 6 enemies. He will not go to Ruins Labasco as Desperados takes 2-0. Dividends, 2 Ultra, and Galaxy on the far Mercy, landing a lot of good damage in the Ultra spaces of effect. And here you go again, the game, even tipping its hat. These 2 right there, that's exactly what I'm saying. Wide Fair is really good. A lot of buildings you can play around to keep yourself alive. You saw him just dueling the Soldier 76 as he was on high ground, just hovering amongst that middle pillar. That is huge for the Pharah, and big game sense coming out from Ultra. 10,500 damage done without much deaths coming out from this Pharah player. Very wonderful, very well done from Desperados.
So they win this map and they go up 3-0, and of course, since we do a 4-map set, they obviously will win the set, but I believe we do still go to our last map, I believe. So just a matter of seeing how things play out the rest of the way here, but I mean, you give credit to Desperados. They dominated these last 2 maps, Panda, and rightfully so. They did the work needed, and you know, unfortunately for straight out of Scrub Cup, they're going to get a loss here. And it's crazy though, because you know, after that first match, that first map, we thought this was going to be super close. What has been the biggest change after that first map?
I mean, again, Desperados, they are flexible players within their own mind. They are realizing what is messing them up the most, and they're dealing with it. Now, they want their Pharah to shine through. They want Ultra to land these direct rockets. Okay, that's cool. So what you saw, Garlic Bread coming through time and time again, shutting down the main source of DPS on Fellow Haler time and time again. I made a comment of that amidst the secondary point as he swapped over to Soldier Fellow did, and just stuffed time and time again. Garlic Bread focusing the hit scan of straight out of Scrub Cup, and as not necessarily the direct counter to a Pharah, but you know, the one that does whittle her down the best as a main source of damage. Ultra reigning in the sky, very supreme, making it very hard for straight out of Scrub Cup to gain a certain footing on the point. Though when they did, they were looking pretty good. They were holding that for a long time. Don't really remember how they lost that point there. They did have it at 88% though, Labasco.
Yeah, they were very close. It was a good team fight that ended up winning them that one. And like you said, there's been flashes, right? And I think that's one thing for Scrub Cup is, you know, I think the best part about doing the casting here is, even though it's you know, this is a game, this is, you know, core Brawl and it matters, they still are going to get to look at the tape and see things that they can correct and fix, because That's been sort of the feel, is like just some of the things are correctable things that they can, just work around or ways to try and deal with some of the comps that they're seeing in different ways.
Absolutely right by that. I mean, like I was saying towards the end of Nubani, I mean, straight out of Compton. I'm sorry, that one was on purpose. Straight out of Scrub Cup, they've been looking fantastic. They're really giving Desperados a run for their money here, Lobosco. Finding the picks time and time again. It's just one player on each map of Desperados that's been going huge. Wolfer on Temple of Anubis, Garlic Bread and Ultra on Elios. And on Nubani, it was both Wolfer and Pills just going ham, really. I mean, even Pray for GG's. Everybody on the map of Nubani really stood up to the plate, but after that, and especially on Elios, you got to give the heads-up play to the tanks and the projectile DPS of Desperados.
Well, the nice thing is now is we go to Watchpoint Gibraltar, and there's a map that we've seen a lot of different things happen, and actually we've seen the highest level some very interesting things come out. One of the interesting things that they've been doing, at least at the top in the Overwatch League, is sort of an unlikely thing you would expect, but they've been using the Mercy on the Genji, which is not something that people are used to seeing, but that has been sort of what they've been doing, building up those Dragon Blades really fast because the Genji can take advantage of the way that the terrain is early on and just sort of dominate. So they've been doing that a lot at that level, but obviously it's not necessarily something you're going to see here, but what should we think to maybe look or expect from Watchpoint Gibraltar?
I mean, one of the better parts, just to go back to that thought, Mercy Genji. Now, when you Valk, when you pull the Valkyrie on Mercy on top of Genji's blade, you have the ability to keep yourself alive by floating amidst the entirety of the team fight, while spreading chaos through the damage beam and keeping the Genji alive. You can really pocket him on the inside, and that's why, Lobosco, you'll see a lot of Mercy players going along with Genji these days, because if they can keep themselves alive long enough to have the Valkyrie combo along with the Genji blade, that's just huge. And one of the better parts of that composition, it gives you that other support slot available for, like you see Pray for GG's on Zenyatta. That Discord target for the dash resets are very, very huge within their own right.
Then you can dash onto that Genji really quick, or the Genji can dash onto the supports really quickly, or usually set up on top as far as that when the depending on where the push is happening. But if they're by the doors, they're usually up on the high ground up there defending, and that is just cannon fodder for the Genji coming over where that like blue canopy is. So it's definitely a fun thing to see. What we're gonna get here is the Widowmaker from Fellow, and this is definitely a good Widowmaker map.
A fantastic Widowmaker map. I mean, like you were saying, Watchpoint Gibraltar, there's a lot of high ground here. And Widowmaker, there's a lot of space that can be created here, especially on defense. And Wolfer, showing time and time again, really good defensive Widowmaker, good reactionary Widowmaker as well. Gonna be met by Fellow, who should have the aggressive positioning, but will fall to a damage-boosted Pray for GG's. Little atonement to J. Jonak. Very wonderfully done by the Zenyatta player of Desperados.
Wanted to point out too, Fellow had a headshot lined up on Wolfer, but somebody ended up getting in front with the body, and it actually saved him from going down. So, unfortunate set of circumstances for Fellow, as his team has to regroup now after the cart gets pushed, at least to the underpass here. But, Panda, this is the start that you'd want, though, if you're Desperados.
The start that you want, indeed. The cart is right underneath that underpass, so right next to the Mega Health Pack in that smaller area. So it's really good for the defensive Widowmaker, as there's only so many little areas that the attacking team can come from. But I have to give a huge what's up play for Pray for GG's. 63% now to the Transcendence. Look at Sora, his counterpart. 34%, nearly doubling in ult charge. This is going to play huge dividends for Desperados' defense.
Dive onto the Widowmaker, but able to escape away is Fellow, as the rest of the team fights out in front of the cart. Flexible able to take Wolfer out. Ultra, though, able to find Sora in the meantime, so still pretty even here. The offense maybe starting to get some advantage here, as they now use the Valkyrie as well to keep the health pools up, trying to deal out damage as Pills in that Baby Diva form, but going to have a primal ranging Winston into face and eventually fall. So now this should allow for the card to at least get pushed around to this next quarter. Dragon Blade coming out here though from Ultra in desperation. Not going to get much though as he just goes back towards his team.
Back towards his team just to get a little bit of healing, but they're gonna end up finding Macintosh's back, and that's really huge for this defensive team. Both divas just using self-destruct for new mechs. Good play coming out so that way they can keep their teams alive longer, but they didn't have it in time. Savanti falling, the kill feed lining up in blue. Look for Pray for GG's again.
Pray for GG's has been pretty awesome on the Zenyatta, dealing some damage out, helps get Mac out of card. Actually, this is the one who takes Macintosh out of card, as now Mac just trying to just stay alive, but oh, they stagger hard, Macintosh.
That stagger, I feel for that sometimes. I play that diva, man. Yeah, sometimes, especially on that point A, you gotta go so far to kill yourself that you just pray for the team to kill you. And Pray for GG is going to have that Transcendence, been having it for a while, so it opened the opportunity for Sora to gain the footing to have one as well. Gonna need it to save in the pocket as Ultra is nearing another Dragon Blade. The only ultimate on the board again on the for Scrub League is that Transcendence. Flexible will have a Pulse Bomb, needs to go huge with it though.
Now comes the Genji now from Fellow, finds his first target, and Wolfer now diving in, looking for another, ends up just missing, but that's alright, his team still taking out Pray for GG's. Now the stall onto the cart though, Ultra gets another Dragon Blade built up here in time, was looking for the Tracer, can't take him out. Valkyrie just in time by Savanti to get out of harm's way, though able to get Galaxy at the very least here though on the Genji. Still trying to get the rest, though, of Desperados out of the way. 14 seconds left before we hit overtime here. Self-destruct on the cart. Won't get anything for Pills, and Pills quickly taken out before the mech gets back. Wolfer the only one left near the cart, and they will at least push it through here through this first point. And now they get onto that second phase, the spaceship phase here for Watchpoint Gibraltar.
I lost all my breath there. I mean, Wolfer, just a quick peek outside, found Savanti's face. And that was just a wonderful shot, but not enough HP for a Widowmaker to get on to the payload to stop it in its tracks. But the kill feed, the dive, still coming through. Baiting out a couple good ultimates, and now baiting out Savanti of all people. Will fall again. The body shot from Widowmaker at full charge still does a lot of damage. Paying dividends is Wolfer.
Can be king of the body shots as long as you land them. Happening. Garlic Bread dealing damage with that Tesla cannon, able to take out Sora, so this will force back the offense here at the moment. A good fight win after. It looked like a good start there for Straight Outta Scrub Cup.
It was looking really good, and the end of that was actually looking really good as well. This Pulse Bomb on to Mercy, not well timed. You wanted at the beginning of the fight, not at the end of the fight, having that ability to just fly back to the Widowmaker on the top of the ship. Should be back in this team fight ever so quickly. There she is, nice, and partnering with the Widowmaker. But Wolfer, again, finding good shots, paying mad dividends to his team, and now he's on this back flank. They're unable to deal with them. The Dragon Blade's coming out, but it's nowhere near the sniper.
Fellow does manage to take out Galaxy at the very least with it, but Ultra's Dragon Blade still here, and his team going to use the Transcendence here. Now uses the Dragon Blade, finds one in Savanti, now dives the rest of the team. Can't find anybody else with it, but his team's starting to maybe trickle back here. But Fellow able to find one along with Franz, another, so they should get this cart moving once again towards the second set of doors.
Yeah, Franz in Primal Rage, just too much meat to deal with, and when he dashed in, Flexible dashed out, and that is, or blinked out rather, and that is just very unfortunate, not gaining full party of the unsheathing of the Dragon Blade. And now you can see Straight Outta Scrub Cup and trying to play as aggressive as possible. Too aggressive as Franz is just going to fall, and they need to play careful here as the dive defense wants to get in their faces quickly.
Quickly diving on to Sora, taking out. Fellow does manage to get Galaxy out of the picture, but not at life later to Pills and Dark Bread getting Savanti, so the regroup happening.
And you have to wonder now on this attacking team, Widowmaker is strongest here, Wolfer on the Soldier 76, Ultra on the Genji. So it really comes down to both Garlic Bread and Ultra to kill off Fellow Hailer time and time again. They can't give this high ground and spacing available to Straight Out of Scrub Cup's Widowmaker. It is very dangerous on this last point, very open. They're just marching this payload down, but the dive defense just is waiting for the opportunity.
Looking for that opportunity to avoid a pulse bomb as they do dive in. Flexible though does manage to find the diving Winston, and now the Dragon Blade. Monty able to take out Ultra. He can't get anything with the blade, so they should be able to move this card again here very soon. Transcendence out on the other side, though, to keep up everybody else alive, but a good Primal Rage pushes off one in Wolfer. So Wolfer out of the picture here. Self-destruct onto the card to slow it down for a moment by Pills, as Pills just gets back in and tries to stall as long as possible, as there's a Transcendence by Sora. Savanti manages to take out one. GG's does get flexible, but the rest of his team is falling.
And a kill feed just bleeding in red, and the spacing available for McIntosh to find all of these follow targets, but Wolfer unable to get dealt with. It will be Franz in the end to kill him off. But Garlic Bread now able to use the Primal Rage, killed off time and time again, but will finally be able to proc it, but it's at the wrong moment in time. It's at the stagger time, and when no tanks available, there's not a lot of spacing for this tactical visor to come out, and it got stuffed immediately, Labasco. Surely it's inevitable at this point.
Yeah, it's all but over now here, at least for this push, but they do at least force it into overtime for the defending side by Desperados. So even though they allowed that to be completed, there's no time bank on the clock for the side of Straight Outta Scrub Cup. At minimum, they can only get a minute of time here, unless they, of course, win this outright by having a good defensive hold against Desperados. So a chance to at least win this map.
Big chance to win this map, indeed, and the map victory will be a feel-good moment for Straight Outta Scrub Cup. And I really gotta say here, they did look better than Desperados on that payload phase of Nubani, right? I mean, that dive was just coming through. The snowball effect really played out more than effect to Straight Outta Scrub Cup than it did Desperados, though they did take the map victory Desperados did on Nubani. I do remember that the payload did move a little bit quicker for Straight Outta Scrub Cup until the very end, But, you know, most teams do typically have a hard time with that spawn advantage, so on and so forth. But so long as the defending team is coming out here, they're going to stick to the tried and true of the dive. We were commenting on it. This team is comfortable on a lot of death ball. Not really playing much of it tonight, but they're really playing well outside of their comfort zone, if it's true to be the death ball. Franz on the Winston, McIntosh on the Diva, but Sora on the Ana to stay in the back with fellow Hailer. So again, we have the same idea as Nubani Labasco, that if you can keep your Ana on the high ground and alive, well peeled for, that's a lot of healing that can come out.
In Straight Outta Scrub Cup's defense, they did put death ball question marks, so maybe they were not 100% sure on what their most comfortable is, but like you said, going with the dive here, and you're right, they did have a very good Nambani first attack, and not a bad defense. They ended up having a bigger time bank, as you said, so we'll see how things change here for Desperados. It looks like they're going to go here with the very few seen Hanzo. So Hanzo getting a chance here.
Oh, you got to live the scatter arrow as long as possible before they finally get rid of it, you know what I'm saying? But Super Shimada Bros will be the team composition coming out. Pray for GG's, sticking on Zenyatta. So two slow targets, backed up by a high mobile dive. It's a little bit of a hybrid style, if you will, but Pray for GG's got to be careful. The dive's coming through immediately. Zenyatta downed.
It's okay, though, because his team still has gotten a couple of important picks, so a chance for them to still push this cart forward through the underpass, so they're already doing better on their first attack than Straight Outta Scrub Cup did. Just have to deal with these players up on top, and they quickly dive onto Sora, and now Wolfer will find Savanti with an arrow. So a very good start here. McIntosh does get pushed out of cart, but not before taking Pills out of cart as well, and Fellow able to find one. So now they dive onto the cart here right before the doors. Out come those dragons for the Dragon Strike. Doesn't get anything, but does clear some room for the cart, as they do get this doors, and they get it very fast. So the first point already taken for Desperados.
Ended up clipping Fellow on the end of those dragons. Probably just wanted to die off and switch to Genji anyway. Probably the one thing that you need here to kill off the wonderfully played Hanzo by Wolfer. I mean, finding these picks very quickly. Quick Dragon Strike as well. Not going back to spawn swap either. So we'll probably see Desperados, Wolfer playing this Hanzo all throughout the ship phase of Gibraltar here. However, it's going to come out from Sora. Will have to stay alive not a lot of mobility coming out from the support line of straight out of Scrub Cup, so they need to play very carefully here, Labasco.
Scrub Cup with a Genji now and a way different look on their DPS, and it's starting off pretty good. McIntosh got boosted by the Ana, able to take out Pray for GG's. Wolfer was able to get Jaeger after the fact, but not before his team had to go back to the drawing board and back up. So now they'll have to regroup here, try and get through this next point. Oh, and a nice dash by Fellow to stagger Wolfer.
Well, he actually got the reflect onto him as well. The dash came through, and then the reflect arrow afterwards. You know, the dash, funny enough, is actually faster than the projectile of the arrow because he didn't charge it all the way. So it was actually he did get the dash reset, as you saw. He did dash away afterwards, but it was a really funny play, and nevertheless. And what you're gonna see, Wolfer still sticking out on this Shimada bro Hanzo. And Fellow's more than obliged to try to deal with it, but the nice scatter arrow is going to claim the Diva mech, and the Dragon Strike not claiming anything but space on the payload.
Ultra doing the work that was needed as well. Self-destruct towards the backline by Pills, but the rest of his team falling in behind. So they have to regroup once again here. So they're getting held here midway through the ship phase.
Getting held once again, and this is where teams struggle. Not a lot of choke points to come through on the ship phase of Gibraltar. Wolfer just swapping over to Soldier 76, just says, damn it, I'm going to take this whole thing into my hands with this pulse rifle, and just getting in there very, very deep, but it's going to be met by a tactical visor right behind the dive. They deal with it very wonderfully, though.
Dark Red gets caught out by the self-destruct in the meantime, but his team still able to push this cart. They will get to this next set of doors, and they've got 4 minutes to try and take this final point. They'll definitely have a bigger time bank if they can push this fairly quick. They get a good stagger on to the Diva. Savanti was in a bad position, so decides to jump off the map to reset with the rest of the team.
And Wolfer going back to Swan to swap to what we can only assume will be the Widowmaker. Like I said on the last attack for straight out of Scrub Cup, is a wonderful pick, but one of the better picks to deal with a defensive Widowmaker to try to gain that high ground parallel positioning. But so long as you have good tanks like Franz and McIntosh to get in there early to negate that high ground for Fellow, Wolfer's just able just to click bodies, man, and good follow-up coming through from his colleagues on Desperados.
Like you said, his colleagues doing the work. Now they have to deal with a Winston who was damage boosted, but it's not going to matter as they fight through the nano boost. Now, they do have a primal rage coming out, though, for the side of straight out of Scrub Cup, and now they've got to deal with a Dragon Blade Ultra dashing into Flexible to get the first kill. Now back towards the cart, takes out the Winston now as well with Pray for GG's, able to take out fellow Haloer, and now it's just Mac in the Diva, quickly taken out, and now they go to the doors to try and body block them and get that cart that last little bit of ways that it needs to go. But coming out the other side and using the visor was Flexible, but he's taken out right away.
And got the body shot from Wolfer. They're unable to get this far to displace the Widowmaker. Good shots coming out. Oh no, the hook into the backline. That's surely one way how you deal with it. Dealing with Wolfer, Bello took the hook in the back to get the quick scope on to Wolfer. I don't think he was expecting that one. However, they're still able to keep the footing on the payload.
And they get the kill onto the Moira here early on. Now Garlic takes out May. Oh, McIntosh, desperation, self-destruct, but it's not going to matter. It went too high in the air and didn't get down, and Baby Diva for him in time. So 3:19 onto the clock for Desperados, straight out of Scrub Cup. Only a minute is all they get here. They're going to push here again, going back onto the attack.
Yeah, man, I'm eating my own words from the attack. Previously stated, you really made me put my foot in my mouth there, Desperados. 3 minutes and 19 seconds, man. I don't see many teams have more than just a minute and 30 here, all completing all 3 points of any payload escort map, Labasco. I mean, that's impressive play coming through.
Very true. The one thing that we saw hold them up last time, they were able to fight through, which was the end. Because otherwise, they would have had a very big time, if you remember, Panda, because they were... I think they had almost 5 minutes left after getting through the streets phase when they were on Nimbani.
Absolutely right by that. Yeah, they got held up just for a little while longer, and like we were mentioning coming into that ship phase there for Desperados, they got held up just a little while longer. Probably Wolfer just being a little bit too cheeky, wanting to use the tried and true bow and arrow, deciding that, I need a little bit more futuristic devices, bringing out a couple pulse rifles here and there and able to deal with the adversaries. But in the end, they were able to gain their footing and keep the time bank ever so wonderfully in their favor. I mean, again, 3 minutes, 19 seconds. That's a good time bank to have, as the adversaries of Straight Outta Scrub Cup only have that unwanted minute to push it as far as possible. And they're coming out here with a full dive. Fellow not playing games this time on the Genji.
On the Genji and Wolfer, this staying on that Widow. Pray for GG's, though, finding Fellow who is diving in. So a good early pick here for the defensive side. Now they engage with the rest of the team. Piddle's looking for the Tracer, now has to peel back a little bit for the rest of his team as they stay up. The cart does get to the underpass, though. See if now they decide to dive down and try and take advantage of that high ground that gets created when the cart is down there, and that looks to be the case. Garlic Bread on the cart here, jumping up high into the air, looking to get healed. Pray for GG's, able to take Flexible out, but they lose their main tank in Garlic Bread. See if now this is the chance here for Straight Outta Scrub to push it the rest of the way as they're looking to take out the rest of the players that are on the card. Pills able to find the mech of Macintosh, but Fellow able to find Wolfer, so you have that threat of the Widow gone, but Ultra with the Dragon Blade here, finding the picks that are needed for his team. Can he get a couple more? Gets taken out, though, by Macintosh's Pills and Garlic Bread here on the card, trying to do what's needed. Use of the Transcendence on the card to keep everybody alive. The spawns coming back in for either side. Self-destruct here, and Fellow Halo are getting 2, as they will be able to get to the doors here eventually and keep this push going.
I almost thought that Dragon Blade that came out from Ultra to kill off the enemy Mercy was going to be the play that they needed to stuff the attacking team, but we're in overtime, Labasco, and without any ultimates, they're gonna have the pulse bomb here nearing, but Franz needs to be careful with the Primal Rage, not stray afar from his team, and get good space on this cart to get as far as possible.
Carts is where the battle's happening. Sound Barrier out from Straight Outta Scrub Cup. Using the Primal Rage is Garlic Bread on the card as well. Transcendence here used, though, to keep everybody up from Pray for GG's. Garlic Bread able to get Sore at the very least. Wolfer now, Fellow Halo are dashing to get Pills out of mech, but is it going to be too little too late as the rest of his team is falling here on the cart, staying on it as long as possible. Dash coming in, Fellow and the Baby Diva only ones left, and they get taken out now, but they do push through that first point. That could be the difference.
It could be the difference. It should give them a little bit more of a spacing and time to whittle down this 3 minutes and 19 second attack phase that comes out from Desperados. So they need to play very patiently on this first defense here, Labasco. I mean, you got to be careful. Got to get a good shield up. You got to get a lot of stagnant heals. You got to keep your healers up. And you got to play careful, because on this defense here, you should be able to get 2, if not 3, maybe even 4 good team fights if played methodically. But where the golden box of victory is when you lose that first capture point, it is a do or die situation. You have to either kill yourself off or draw back to regroup with your team, and that's what we might end up seeing either come to really play out for the defending team or bite them in the arse.
Ultra on the Genji here early on. Galaxy not showing us yet what he's going to play. Wolfer looking like maybe he'll play the Hanzo again, so it looks like we might get that Hanzo-Genji combo again.
I mean, it did give them all the way until the 3rd point, or darn near the 3rd point last time. I mean, don't fix what ain't broke. I mean, I know we're not on Route 66, but we're not visiting no gas stations for this well-oiled machine anytime soon. Wolfer coming out again on the Hanzo Super Shimada Bros.
And he gets deflect, able to get the hook down here of Fellow, who's on that right now onto the Roadhog. So they have now triple tank combo coming out here on the side of Straight Outta Scrub Cup. They're going to drop down now to the low ground, try and get that high ground advantage here behind the Orisa shield, dealing the damage out that's needed. Another miss the hook there from Fellow, but it's forcing players back is the good thing here. So getting stalled out at least underneath, and Sora able to get Wolfer for that early pick.
Yeah, nice Biotic Orb, unable to eat it up. Pills not in time. Wolfer taking too much damage beforehand and will fall to the Biotic Orb. from Moira, and a wonderful pick coming out from Sora on the healing support line of straight out of Scrub Cup to keep these 3 tanks alive. A lot of burst healing from that healer.
They are going to change, though. Wolfer will go to the Soldier 76 now after seeing what's coming up from the other side. Fellow able to get pills, though, out of Mets. So it off with the Coalescence. Flexible finding garlic bread afterwards is now having to go back towards their spawn once again is the team of Desperados. So they're a little over a minute and a half getting off the clock here as they're about under 2 minutes now.
In the back thoughts of their mind, they have to be thinking that if we just stack ultimates, we should be just fine. But if they're thinking that, so is the defending team. I mean, they've already whittled down almost 2 minutes here, Lobosco. So the defending team nearing almost halfway to all of their ultimates. Good defense thus far. They should be able to stuff it a little while longer.
Only thing is, though, Ultra has the Dragon Blade and no defensive ults yet. See if he decides to use it. Holding on to it right now. Flexible gets Wolfer, though, with the Helix Rocket. Has to pop the Transcendence now, and now the Sound Barrier coming out afterwards. So the defensive all gone. See if Ultra decides to use this soon, as now he gets Sound Barrier, goes in, goes after the Visor of Flexible, but he gets him. But they both end up falling here, so that the Visor and the Blade out of the fight, even on either side. Pray for GG's takes out the Supercharger of the Orisa. As the battle continues on to the cart, Moira getting battered around by that Primal Rage. Finally taken out now Savanti, the only one left here on the cart, along with the Baby Diva and Macintosh. It's just getting a bit popped out now. Flexible on the high ground here to stall, but actually that ends up being a stagger. That might be disastrous.
That disastrous stagger, like you said, will not play into its favor of the defending team, but might. Pills not in the mech quite yet, so if they can get on this payload quickly, they should be able to gain a certain amount of footing, but they are punishing even more respawns here, Lobosco.
So now they're going to finally regroup, but it might be too little too late. The cart is less than 10 meters away, as they are just about to take that golden box. Macintosh coming here, along with Flexible. Visor out, though, from Wolfer on the high ground, able to get Savanti, who is desperately getting back to the cart, and they now have a Transcendence to keep everybody up through most of this Coalescence from Sora, and they're taking out the rest of the team. Ultra built up back to another Dragon Blade, dashing in, gets the Diva out of mech, and now looking for more. And they do get it here, and they win this map towards the end, but Desperado clutches it out and gets 4-0 on the board.
Wow, wonderful play coming through, punishing those stagger of respawns, and again, well-earned play of the game from Ultra, getting those dash resets over and over again. And here you can see on their initial push here, looking really good thus far, just being everywhere he needs to be, finding the low targets, peeling for his, or getting the high-value targets, if you will, Lobosco. Good play coming throughout this DPS from Desperados in the past 2 maps.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, the DPS usually when they're doing good, though, got to remember that that usually means that more than likely the tanks were playing really well, and I definitely think that was one of the cases here for Desperados. You have to give Pills and Garlic Bread a lot of credit. I think that they were both creating a lot of space for those 2 DPS.
Absolutely right by that. I mean, you know, the DPS, they may get the flashy kills, they may show up in the kill feed, but nevertheless, you can hear us always talking about, as casters, the spacing that's provided from the tanks, the healing that is coming out from the backline. Peel, a word of the day, if you will. But DPS can't always do it alone.
And, of course, the supports have to be mentioned as well for Desperados. I think Pray for GG's and Galaxy also did a really good job as well. I think Galaxy on whatever the off healer was from Zen, you know, even that's not technically the off healer, but just, you know, we saw Pray for GG's. I don't think Pray for GG's played anything but Zen, but his Zen was really good, and you can see why they keep him on that. And, I mean, Zen's just so needed right now, as maybe one of the only must picks that you kind of have in the game, until things change around a little bit more when we get Brigitte into the game. But before that happens, thoughts, you know, as far as what we saw from straight out of Scrub Cuck, because they did not make it easy on a couple of these maps for Desperados, even though it was a 4-0.
They didn't make it easy for them whatsoever. Savanti, good healing coming out from the support pick that prefers to play Mercy. And good heads up play, because one of the benefits of still having a Mercy, you can heal through shields. A lot of players prefer to play Ana these days because of Mercy's nerfs, but you can't heal through shields as Ana. And that's where Mercy truly does shine. Valkyrie giving the damage boost. Wonderful heads up play from all the tanks. It's just the DPS, probably with a little bit nerves, not finding up the follow-up everywhere where need be, and sometimes a little bit punished from overextensions. When they had the team fight almost won Lobosco, gave straight out of Scrub Cup an inadvantageous opportunity, and they were really stuck in desperate needs more often than not. Besides, I believe even on one map of Helios, though they did get 2-0'd when they were sitting there convincingly waltzing up to 88% control meter. They were looking very comfortable.
They definitely were, and things to work on is always the good thing, but there's definitely some good bright spots from them, and that's always one of the things that is nice to see when we get to call these games. And just because it was asked for, if we had to pick a player of the match, who are we going to pick here, Panda? I'll give it to you for that.
Whew, I'd have to give it out to Garlic Bread from Desperados. The main tank mainly played Winston, but that tracking from Orisa on Anubis, but the heads-up play coming out to find the correct dive targets from Desperados, that spacing well provided for his DPS to shine through. Wonderful play coming through the main tank of Desperados. My player of the match for sure.
Definitely is a good choice. I think that really almost anybody on the team of Desperados could have been. I think we saw some really good stuff from Ultra. Wolfer played some pretty good Widow that we saw. And pray for GG's, as that Zen was really good. Galaxy played some really good Mercy, and Pills had some really good plays on the Diva too. So I think you couldn't go wrong with your choice in this one, at least for Desperados in this one. But again, good things from both teams. Want to thank Ben, who was our producer here tonight for this one. Of course, I want to thank my partner in Panda. And of course, thank you for watching here for this one. But I think that about wraps things up here for us. Thanks again. It's been a fun one here on Broadcast GG for this Core Brawl matchup.